everyone. Welcome back to the Dakota Fundraising News Podcast. Today is Friday, January 31st. January is already over.
Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Feels like just yesterday it was New Year's Day. Obviously, we talked about it earlier this week. We'll keep talking about it, but we're so pumped for the Birds to be in the Super Bowl. Just one good week away from that. Our fearless leader, Guy, has given us a half day on Monday after the Super Bowl, which is very good. So
win or lose, we'll need the half day.
Yeah.
So.
I doubt he's listening. If he is, thanks. We really appreciate that. Let's just jump right into it, though. Konch, you'll talk obviously a lot about RA M&A. We'll sort of flip on and off, but one that we do want to call out, just a local firm, Pitcairn Trust. Pitcairn Trust has made an acquisition. They have acquired Brightside Partners. Within that acquisition, they are going to be establishing a new RIA called Pitcairn Wealth Advisors. Together, they are focused on sharing and deepening the firm's family office model to serve more and more multi-generational families across probably the East Coast, just because they have, I know they have people in Richmond, Florida, and then obviously Philadelphia.
Yeah, I wanted to share a quick update on just a little bit of a funner topic, I guess, or
cool.
a more fun topic that I saw online. But looks like the former Gucci CEO, Marco Bizzarri, is pursuing an acquisition of Versace.
It's cool.
Paris Fashion Week right now, so just thought that was interesting when I saw it. And then I don't think we've talked about our upcoming portfolio company data set that we have coming to Dakota, but it kind of lines there. Looks like interest coming from private equity firm Primera for that acquisition. So, we'll see if that ever happens, but just a little quick note there, portfolio company data coming soon to Dakota.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's something like 60,000 that we'll be starting with and then just scaling over time. Let's just jump into job changes though. So I'll start with Hawthorne Banks. They have a division called Hawthorne Wealth Management, and that unit has announced that Gavin Robinson is joining the firm. Gavin has spent time at Fidelity. He'll be joining Hawthorne Wealth Management as their CIO.
Staying along with the CIO trend, ton of new CIOs that we've called out over the past few podcasts, I think, with the new year. But Michael Berry has left Georgetown Endowment and has joined the Johns Hopkins University there.
Nice.
And then staying along here, I'll finish up this segment. Nadia, apologies with this last name, but I'm going to take a guess that it's Adechubu. So Nadia Adechubu has left CalSTRS on the private equity team and has joined the Council of Foreign Relations out in DC, also a Johns Hopkins alumni. So just tying that to the previous one that we mentioned.
Yeah, it's exciting. I wonder if Michael leaving Georgetown and joining Hopkins, I wonder if he has to move for that or if he'll just commute a little farther. We'll see. Obviously, I have no idea where he lives, so that'll be helpful in guessing that. Let's just jump right down to the M&A activity, though. Sequoia Financial, they are set to acquire the $3.8 billion RIA Carlson Capital. This deal is expected to close on the 31st of March. Carlson was founded in 1987. They're based in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Upon completion of that deal, Gregory and Jeff Carlson will become strategic advisors to Sequoia Financial, and their CEO will assume the role of executive vice president. Sequoia will then have 34 offices in 19 states. Very exciting.
LPL up next here, always in the news. I'm pretty sure there's a couple other LPL stories that we aren't covering just because there's so much activity there. If you want to learn all about that, go to Dakota Marketplace or even our website on our news section. But they are grabbing a $1 billion team out in LA coming over from Osaic. So Salient Wealth Planning Team is the name of the team. They manage around $1 billion in assets, as I mentioned. Team's leader, John Schlatter, originally founded Salient Consulting Group back in 1990, transitioned to Osaic in 2018. The other team members include Alec Hogue, Robert Rojano, and Michael Madden. This move marks the second team this month to switch from Osaic to LPL. Pretty interesting tidbit there, following the Lewin Financial Management Group that we previously mentioned.
Yeah. This next one, Washington, D.C. based Goldman team with $1.6 billion under management has moved to Dynasty. So that's going to be Dynasty Financial Partners getting Triton Point Wealth, which is like I said, Goldman Sachs team in the Washington, D.C. metro area with 16 teammates that will also be coming along to Dynasty. So very exciting there. I'm actually headed to D.C. this weekend. And actually just as we're recording this, the news of the plane crash that just happened in DC just a few hours ago. So we, our thoughts are out to everyone who is affected by that. Obviously, it's horrific tragedy, but want to just keep things rolling and not dive too much into that.
Yeah, we will just keep things rolling. As Pat mentioned, thoughts out to everybody. On the consultant side, though, a couple updates on the consultants. A ton of updates here recently. Illinois Police Officers Pension Fund, $13 billion in assets, currently using Veris. They are evaluating a private markets consultant search. Dakota Research, Pat, you had a webinar this morning.
Yeah.
With the can you give us a quick 15 seconds on Dakota Research? And I think it ties pretty good to why Illinois Police is looking for a private markets consultant.
Totally. Yeah, the private markets industry has just totally boomed over the last 10, 15 years, with something like a 3x in the number of private fund managers out there, and like 12x in the number of private fund firms, or funds, excuse me. So it's a ton to keep up to date with. So what we've launched now at Dakota Research, if you all aren't familiar listening in, is a due diligence platform where analysts can come in and track workflows, stay up to date on private fund launches, allocations, manager decks, key contacts, all of this stuff that's available to you. Just unfortunately can be pretty overwhelming to organize. So just let us organize it for you. Feedback's been really positive so far from endowments, foundations, fund of funds, and wealth managers. So we're excited to keep getting that feedback and keep bringing it to market. And if you're listening in and that sounds interesting, feel free to book a demo on our website.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pat. And it makes sense why Illinois Police might be looking for a dedicated private markets consultant, due to everything that you just mentioned there. Specifically, finalists are going to include Alburn, Callan, Veris, and Wilshire. So we'll see if they expand what Veris's scope to privates as well. But we'll update that when we learn more.
Let's just, we talked about DC a little while ago. Let's just take the Beltway down to Baltimore. City of Baltimore Employees Retirement System with $2 billion under management. They have announced a search update. So Makita and RVK were just interviewed on January 16th. We're recording this just a few days later. That search was announced in August. We still don't have the results just yet, but as soon as we do, you'll all be the first to know.
Staying along with searches, I guess a couple updates here, and a recent equities RFP that I'll mention here first. But Medford Contributory Retirement System, about $270 million in assets, Boston-based retirement fund. They have sent out an RFP for U.S. small cap value. This is about $10 million mandate here. They use NEPC as their consultant. Just some specifics here regarding requirements. They're preferring that the proposed strategy has a live 10-year track record. However, it is subject to the board's discretion. Also preferring small cap equity assets under management of at least $750 million. They will be considering lower amounts though, so don't let that deter you. Proposed strategy must be a U.S. small cap value strategy. Core and growth will not be considered. And then lastly here, the product vehicle must be a pooled investment vehicle. So a mutual or commingled fund.
Yeah, these next two I'll cover both in LA. So we have Los Angeles City Employees Retirement System with their private credit pacing plan for 2025. They're looking to commit $600 to $700 million across 9 to 12 different active GPs, prioritizing direct lending, distressed and opportunistic credit in dislocated markets. This is going to be also an allocation to emerging managers is involved because they are targeting at least 10% allocation to emerging managers with this new deployment. And then Los Angeles Water and Power Employees Retirement System, they have announced an emerging markets equity manager update. So they've selected AQR as their EM equity manager to manage a $478 million portfolio. Acadian, Arga, and Man were considered for that effort too.
Nice. Quick update here from New Mexico State Investment Council for a private debt search that they had for a liquid multi-asset class manager recently. They have selected Brown Brothers and Harriman Company to manage the multi-asset credit strategy. So that came out of a recent meeting just 2 days ago, actually. And then following up on New Mexico, they also listed a number of investments. I'll just list off here. They're allocating $40 million to Bessemer Venture Partners India Fund 2, $50 million to Fraser Life Sciences 12, $30 million to 776 Fund 3, another $30 million to another 776 fund that is in their RT Fund 2. Both of those are venture funds. And then $100 million to Stellix Capital Partners Fund 3, an additional $50 million to co-investment strategy for that fund, and $50 million to Longshore Capital Fund 2, that is private equity. So all those are private equity or venture capital. New Mexico, $56 billion pension using RVK, Townsend, and Mercer.
Nice. Yeah, we're covering a ton today. We have one more on the searches segment here before we jump to fundraising news. So first, the Vermont Pension Investment Committee, they have announced pacing plans to private equity, real estate, and credit. On the private equity side, RVK is working with them on all three of these asset classes. On the private equity side, RVK is recommending $130 million to achieve a target allocation of 11%. Real estate, they are targeting $70 million to non-core real estate for a target allocation of 4%. And then finally, on the private credit side, they're targeting $210 million, $100 million of that being to direct lending, the rest to just regular private credit across asset classes, across sub-asset classes. And that's going to be targeting an allocation of 11%.
I know, Pat, you've been recording here in the studio for a couple hours now for, the live webinar that you just did and
yeah.
other things. So
it's fun stuff.
We just have two other quick things here to close out, and then I think you're done recording for the day. But just a couple quick fundraising updates that we'd like to provide here. All this and more you can find in Dakota Marketplace. But Blue Sage Capital, they have closed their fourth fund over the cap at $618 million. This is Blue Sage Capital Fund 4. Initial target was $400 million with a hard cap of $500 million, so exceeding both of those numbers for sure. Fund size was limited to ensure the focus on the lower middle market. Investors include endowments, foundations, pension funds, family offices, insurance companies, and even individual entrepreneurs. Montana Board of Investments specifically pledged $60 million, which we were previously reported in Dakota Marketplace. Fund 4 is going to be targeting businesses in environmental solutions, niche manufacturing, and specialty services in North America. And then if it's of any interest, Kirkland and Ellis acted as the fund counsel.
Nice. Service providers, always important. But let's go over to a Dutch private credit specialist. That is Colsco Capital Collective, CCC. Not sure if they go by that, but now they do. They have secured over 800 million euro at the initial closing of their first fund. Target was 1.5 billion, so coming in a little under target, but that is just with the first close. So we'll see how they continue to raise the balance there. They are a sustainable investment focused fund in, again, obviously the Nordics, Netherlands, and the UK. And it looks like the cornerstone investors are actually two pensions as well, two international pensions, the Rabobank and Dutch pension manager APG Asset Management. Very exciting stuff. Speaking of Dutch managers, again, we have a few months still, but excited for super return this year.
Just wondering where you're going with that.
Yeah. Speaking of Dutch managers, so that'll be fun. Hope to meet with Colsco and any of the other firms out there while we're in Germany.
Awesome. Before Pat's out in Germany, some of the Dakota team will be in Dallas February 26th at the Park House for an event. March 5th, Boston out in the Rochambeau, and then Park City, Utah at the Spur and Bar and Grill on March 20th there. Am I missing anything? New York event coming up too, right?
Yeah, New York event coming up too. Already moved to a waiting list on the last week of February. That is, I believe, the 25th. And you will see me at that Boston event on March 5th. My birthday is the 10th. Feels like we do Boston for my birthday every year.
Well, thanks for everyone listening in. We've been getting some pretty positive feedback from some customers that listen to the podcast. It's always interesting to put real names to the listeners. I think it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that,
keep them coming.
But any feedback on the podcast, let us know. Other than that, that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
This episode is brought to you by Dakota Marketplace. Are you tired of constantly jumping between multiple databases and channels to find the right investment opportunities? Introducing Dakota Marketplace, the comprehensive institutional and intermediary database built by fundraisers for fundraisers. With Dakota Marketplace, you'll have access to all channels and asset classes in one place, saving you time and streamlining your fundraising process. Say goodbye to the frustration of searching through multiple databases, websites, Form ADVs, and say hello to a seamless and efficient fundraising experience. Sign up now and see the difference Dakota Marketplace can make for you. Visit dakota.com/Dakota-Marketplace.